Look, the message is we're really open for business and we want to support viable businesses. The big question in all of this is how do we look at viability and how does a business look at viability? And I see two different things here. A business will look at viability and say, look, if you lend me some money today, I can pay today's salaries so I'm viable tomorrow. And many businesses don't think that there's an issue about how you repay that £100,000. Whereas the bank will say, look, we'll support you today with £100,000 if we can work out how you can repay that down the track. And that's where we need to bridge this gap. So really clear message, we are there to support viable businesses, but we do need those businesses working with us and us working with those businesses to make sure the businesses can repay the debt that they take. The first thing we look for is a cash flow forecast. And that cash flow forecast will say what money's coming in from your debtors, so that the people that owe you money from your turnover and things like that, and then what payments have you got to make out, and then have you got enough to make payments, repayments for loans and overdrafts and things like that. So we look for a cash flow forecast, and much of the guides and the brochures that we provide and the guides that Smarter have got those templates in there, so that's easy stuff to do. But let's just drill into those cash flows a little bit and look at the lines that are in there. The first line that you get in a cash flow is what money's coming in. So that first of all says how much sales have you got and are your debtors going to pay on time? So firstly, look at your sales. Are you being realistic about the amount of sales that you think you're going to make? So don't come along to us and say, well, last year we made £1 million sales, but next year it's going to be £2 million. Because if you say that, we're just going to say, just explain to us why that's the case. So be realistic about it, because the first thing we're going to do with a cash flow forecast is sensitize it and knock those numbers down to what we believe is realistic. So first thing is look at your sales, be realistic and understand why you put those numbers in there. And then the second thing to look at is how fast are those people that you sell to going to pay you? How fast are they going to make the payments? So how good are your debtors? We call it debtor days, so debtor turnover, debtor days. And many businesses, for instance, 3 years ago, might have been working on 30 days credit. They've been giving 30 days credit to the businesses they've been dealing with. But actually, over the last 2 years, those debtors might have been taking 50 days to make payments. So if you've put in your cash flow, well, it's going to be 30 days again, we're going to challenge you and say, why? Because it's no good you putting a number in your cash flow that's not realistic. So the two real keys that we're going to be looking at straight away is, are your sales levels right? And are your debtor collection periods right? So that's what we're going to look at the very beginning. It's great to have an aspiration. It's great to have a target out there. But it's no good having that target and building everything around that target if actually you're not going to hit that target. So yes, have a target, so have a best case. And then have a middle case that says, look, this is actually what we think we're going to do. So if everything works well on that middle case with what you think's actually going to happen, that's great. And then have a base case to say, if everything goes wrong, where am I then? Because where a bank will really like to look is if you look at the base case and say, even if everything goes wrong, this business can afford to repay its borrowing, then that's easy for us. But if we have that great aspirational case out there to say it can only repay us if they really hit every target, then that's tough. The really good businesses will tell you day to day where they are against their sales targets, where they are against their profit targets, where they are against their cash targets. So that's really what you've got to aspire to. Failed applications are actually pretty rare. I mean, as a bank, we will lend 17 out of 20 of the applications that we get. So it's only sort of 3 out of 20 that aren't getting through at the first shot. But those people are the ones who come along and haven't thought about the fact they've got to repay their loan or repay their overdraft. They've not thought about where the sales are going to come from and are they realistic. They've not thought about what the debtor periods are and who they're going to deal with. They've not thought about a profit margin. I mean, many businesses will start off going without thinking where the profits are going to come from. And it's fine doing your turnover and making your sales, but actually if you're not going to make a profit out of this, well, why are you there? So these are the businesses that come along just with a good idea, want some money from us, but actually haven't been through the process of planning and looking pretty critically about what they intend to do and seeing whether repayments can come through. So we're there to support good, viable businesses, but it's right that we should sit down with you and make sure that you can repay, because if you can't, then we're giving you the wrong advice and supporting you wrongly and irresponsibly if we don't think you can repay. We try not to reject an application, just by saying, no, we're not going to help you. What we try and do is say, look, we could do it this way, but if you're trying to do it that way, we don't think it works. Now, sometimes businesses say, well, we don't believe you, we think we've got a great idea and the enthusiasm is there, and we understand all that. And one of the great things about the job that I have is that I meet so many people who've got passion and enthusiasm for the businesses, but sometimes that enthusiasm and that passion just sort of clouds a little bit the reality about what you can do. So we don't like saying, no, we won't help you. We do like saying, we can't help you in that way, but here's a way that we can help you. Sometimes businesses would prefer to talk to somebody else. So we can make an introduction for you to a business link. We can introduce you to the Enterprise Finance Guarantee Scheme. So there are various different things we can do. And we're really keen, we've seen a lot of evidence of startup businesses working with a mentor that means those businesses are that much more successful. So there's lots of different things we can do and different ways we can help you, other than just writing a check for you to get going. A lot of businesses will start with friends and family funding. But to a simple question about when should you start talking to the bank, I would say 3 months before you start your business. All right? Don't wait till you've been going a year and then come along to the bank and say, we think we're ready to borrow from you now. The way a bank will look at you when you come is to say, well, how much have you got to put in against how much you're asking from us? And what a lot of businesses do is invest all their own money and all the friends and family money at the very beginning and then come along to the bank when they've run out of cash completely. So it's far, far better coming to us 3 months before you start and say, look, this is the idea, this is where we're planning to go, we want to open the bank account with you. We think in the first 6 or 7 months we're going to use our own money to try out what our idea is, or maybe use friends and family money. But then maybe in a year's time, we'll be coming along to you looking for some overdraft or some loan money or something like that. Banks love that. A good, honest, open conversation where we can feel we're part of this from the very beginning. Overdraft borrowing and loan borrowing, they're quite different. Loans are structured to say you want to do something, you want probably buy an asset, and you can afford to repay that over a period. So, maybe you take a loan for 3 years to buy a printing machine, and you can afford to buy that by making monthly repayments, and at the end of the 3 years you have it. Another way to do that is using asset finance. So loans, asset finance, go hand in many ways. The overdraft is more structured towards those businesses that want day-to-day cash flow. So this is the gap between what they have to pay out to their creditors and to their suppliers and what they're waiting to get in from the people that they've sold to. So the two are quite different. What banks don't really like to see is overdraft funding that then becomes solid. That's really a loan. So what often happens is you have an overdraft that goes solid, we'll then look to put that on loan so you can repay it over a period. As we come out of a recession, what we always see are businesses needing more cash flow. So we are certainly going to need something like the Enterprise Finance Guarantee going forward. But what the Conservative government have said very clearly is that they are going to look at broadening this scheme. And we're talking to them now about how we do that. And I personally would like to see that scheme extended into young entrepreneurs. So these are people who come out of university who have a great idea but have no track record with that idea, have no security to give us, and ordinarily that's quite tough for banks to lend to. I'd love to see this scheme extended so that we can help those good ideas from people coming out of university, or indeed the people not going to university who thought they were going to go to university. So I think there's going to be a raft of really good ideas, and we have to find a way of helping those businesses get going and get those ideas off the ground. And I think extending the scheme to that would be good. I think what we're also going to see is more social enterprise, not-for-profit enterprise coming around. So as people haven't got jobs because they've been made redundant, they'll look to do other things. And I think we might well get a resurgence of social enterprise. And those businesses, again, social enterprise, are quite difficult for mainstream banks to lend to because often they're not profitable, often they're very marginal, and often the people that are running them are doing it on a voluntary basis, so we can't get directors' guarantees and things like that. And it would be really good if we can extend the Enterprise Finance Guarantee into those sort of areas as well.